Hey, Ken, good to see you again. And Eric, good to see you again as well. Hey, Rolf, greetings from Germany. So, herzlich willkommen aus Deutschland. So, thanks for joining us today. Hey, Ed, thanks for joining as well. So, hopefully I'll get a chance to say hello to everybody as they join in here. So, just going to try to keep track as questions get asked during today's session. So this is our second episode. So I want to thank you for joining us again. And the purpose of this broadcast is first and foremost is to provide you with information that you'd like to have. So generally I'll get out a request for questions typically a day in advance of the webcast. And I'm going to try to do these once a week just because I thought I could do it every other week. But I have a feeling there's too many things going on at Compass. So I probably need to do this weekly. And that's why we're doing it today and not next week. So again, this is for you to ask questions. I had one question from our first session, which I'm going to readdress again today. And I don't have any questions yet as far as on the live feed. So feel free to post your questions on the live feed. I believe this view will update for me as you post questions. Hey, Chuck. Hey, David. Hey, Robert. Thanks again for all you guys joining today. So let's get right into it. Let's go straight to our update for today. So I'm going to share my screen. So bear with me while I get ready to do that. And we're going to use some screen sharing here just so I can share some things with you today. So hopefully you see my screen fine. If you don't see my screen, you'll just have to yell at me to say, John, I don't see your screen at all. So you should see the Facebook page right now for Compass Games with our nice cover about one of our most recent pre-order announcements. And why don't we get right to it? So let's focus right on an update to our schedule. So again, there has been some movement since we last talked last week from episode 1. The main thing is, again, you'll see this on the Constant World forum page for Compass Games, and you'll see it also, this is the home page for Compass Games right here. So on the left side, on the left column, you will see our upcoming titles with the most recent coming up topmost. And we try to keep a 90-day window open so you can see what's coming in the next 90 days. And as I get closer to a release date, I'll give you a specific date of release. So we'll be happy to do that. So the big news for May is we have 2 releases for this month. We have first from John Panofsky, we have Blood on the Ohio. That's going to be coming out first on May 15th. And then Montelimar, Anvil of Fate, that's from Adam Starkweather. We'll talk a little bit more about those titles here in a moment. So those are our 2 titles for May. Then you can see we have 2 titles for the month of June. We have Forgotten Legions, which I'm going to talk a little bit about today. I want to share with you some more of the artwork for the game, specifically the box, and talk about the game a little bit. And then Paper Wars issue 89, which is the first issue of our subscription that is now available to order. So Paper Wars subscription is now open for issues 89 through 92. Anybody who had a Paper Wars subscription through 88, that ended, and you probably got an email from us to thank you for your past subscription and then asking you to renew. And the renewal covers 89 through 92. So we can talk about that as well. Some new items actually fell on the list, so things that I didn't have last week. So first of all, Russia Beseech Deluxe Edition. So that was previously done by L2 Design. So Compass is releasing a deluxe edition of that, meaning bigger components again, and that will be in the month of July. And then Night Fighter Ace, that's a project I'm involved in with Gregory Smith, who's done the Hunters series. So he also has the series behind Raiders of the Deep that was designed by Ian Cooper based on that system. And then we have a lot for July. July, we have 4 titles stacking up right now. We were hoping to get Night Fighter Ace in June, but the game cards that come with the game looks like that's going to ship or arrive end of June. So maybe Night Fighter Ace, it's more realistic to call that really early in July instead of June. And then besides Russia Besieged being a new edition, we have Lebensraum, The War for Europe, 1941 to 1945. That's actually new on this schedule as opposed to wasn't there last week. So if you're familiar with that one, that was a old Simulations Canada release back in the 80s from Steven Newberg. So that covers strategic level Europe, but it starts in 1941. It is covering all of Europe, the West and East front, but it's not starting in 39, it's starting in 41. So that's a little bit about what's coming through end of July. Please note, I'll probably be updating this schedule. Maybe next week I'll have new information. Maybe I'll have a more specific date, for example, on Forgotten Legions. Perhaps we'll have that date locked down, or we'll have some other movement. So things can change quickly. So I'll always plan to visit our schedule every broadcast with you, just to let you know what's happening. So what else is big news? Well, there's big news this week. We announced the pre-order for Hearts and Minds, 3rd edition. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work backwards and talk first about Tinian, the Forgotten Battle. Now, Tinian is the 3rd title, or the 3rd volume in the Marianas campaign series. Again, from Adam Starkweather. It's the company scale system. So you might have Guam, you might have Saipan. Now we have a much more manageable footprint. This is a smaller, more manageable, sort of like a nice entry game. So think of it back to how OCS has a lot of big games from MMP. They'll roll in a smaller game, smaller footprint game as part of the series. So that's really what Tinian is. So Tinian is going to be coming out next. It's available now on pre-order. And as you can see, it's going to be a single map sheet, but with 5/8" counters. So a pretty modest footprint. So anybody who has table restrictions, I can only fit one map on my table. You're going to give me a big thumbs up on this, because this is a more modest sized game. And of course, the series booklet and the series rules are further refined. This is now the third release for Adam Starkweather. So again, we're really looking forward to the release of Tinian. So that was the first pre-order that was announced, I'd say, in the past week. But brand new to this week, the most recent pre-order is Hearts and Minds Vietnam, 1965 to 75. So this is a 3rd volume release. The most recent release was, if you go to Board Game Geek, I'll go there now. So here's the cover to Hearts and Minds, and it was released by Worthington Games in 2010, was the 2nd edition release. Been seeing really positive reviews about the game already. A lot of people are familiar with this game. And so we're really excited that we're going to give this the deluxe treatment. So what's happening is, with this game, is the counter. Let's take a look at the components. I want to just give you an idea of what's happening here. So notice the counter size is 3/4 inch counters. So it's like Euro quality counters, and then it's a mounted map. So I have to put that in italics. I should have probably highlighted it. So this is going to be sort of like an Uber Deluxe edition, in that the map that's being worked on now, which you can see here, this is going to be mounted. This will be a mounted map. And then the game counters are those nice circular, extra big European style counters you see in Euro games. So again, plenty of space. You can see sort of the cutouts of these counters. Again, very large counters, bigger than 5/8 inch, very comfortable, mounted map. So we're going to try to spoil you with, this is going to put pressure on us. We're going to say we want mounted maps for everything, and we want it like this. So I think Hearts and Minds is going to capture the hearts and minds of those that have bought games from Compass before. I think you're going to be happy with the production value of the game. So John Paniski is the designer of Hearts and Minds, and I'm looking to get an interview scheduled with John so we can talk about his work, and we can also talk about what's different about Hearts and Minds. I do know one thing is being added to Hearts and Minds, and that is John Paniski, the designer, has added a solitaire layer to the game. So there's a dedicated, I think if you look at the components on this page, you'll notice there's a player aid card for solitaire play. So there's a new tiered system just dedicated to solitaire play. So besides every part of the package being brand new, so people have asked me, is there an update kit? And actually there's no update kit. The past publication was actually a different publisher, and literally everything in this box is an update. So all the new components, the updated rules, changes, to the design, adding solitaire layer to the system for solitaire play, all that is net new to the game. So I hope you'll consider it. I think just from a production quality standpoint, if you got the 1st or 2nd edition, this given the production quality, and perhaps if you're interested in solitaire play, that might do the trick for you. And you can see the pricings right here at $52 for the package. So those are our two new pre-orders that we've recently announced. So on the recently added to pre-order list that I'm showing here back on the screen, the topmost entry is always the most recent pre-order that we've added to the website. So Hearts and Minds is the most recent, and then Tinian, which we just talked about, Company Scale System, the third volume of the Marianas campaign, that was the second most recent. And again, this will cycle, this list will cycle as we go. Now I want to switch gears for a second. And I want to, let me see if I have any questions here. Is Tinian, Saipan, and Guam the same system as Multi-Man Publishing's No Question of Surrender? You know, the games look really similar. That's from Darren Leveloff. The systems look very similar if you look at the components, but it is a new system. So that's why it has a different series name to it, Company Scale System. For Compass in this case. So there are differences, and I believe also if you go to, it might be Saipan, I believe, we've got the rules that are available for download. So Darren, I'd suggest on our website, on the downloads page, you should find some rules you can download, because I'm assuming you don't have Guam or Saipan yet, right? So you don't have those games yet, and maybe Tinian's going to be your hook into the system that you decide this is for you. So I think at least the rules should be available, and I believe it's under Saipan. I can double check that and get back to you if that's okay, Darren. So I hope that's helpful to you. So, but they do look somewhat similar, but they are different. They are different games as well. So let's talk about Forgotten Legions for a moment. So I just want to give you a quick update on Forgotten Legions. So a little bit about Forgotten Legions. This is part of our Designer Signature Edition release, which I'm involved in. That's sort of a brand of games that I manage as a project line. So whenever you see Designer Signature Edition, I've talked about it in recent issues of Paper Wars and also online to try and explain the approach. Basically, we look at classic designs that have been already published in the past and ones we think can really withstand a new treatment where somebody will open the box and feel like it's really a new game and it's not just a retread from 20 years ago. And the way we do that is we supersize the components. So you can see I now have computer glasses in the last year, so it helps me with my vision, and I think a lot of people are in my boat that the half-inch counters, if you have a lot of information on half-inch counters, that's a great challenge for me. I just took a look at S&T's Kharkov. Kharkov and S&T magazine is one of my favorite games. So when you pull out Kharkov from S&T magazine, look at the half-inch counters for the unit IDs and try to set up the game without glasses or just how your vision is today. If you're in your mid-50s like I am just about here, oh man, it was painful. It was sad. I was thinking I've really aged. I'm not young. I'm not a teenager anymore. My eyes, it's a completely different game. I couldn't even see the counters. So that's where I'm coming from here. It's not just from me, so that's my non-objective approach, but also others say, please help us out, bigger counters, easier to handle, bigger map. The maps have to be bigger because the hex grid has to be enlarged to accommodate the counters as well. Now and then there's the occasional person that says, look, I can only fit a single map on my table. And sure, that's going to be potentially, we can't do anything about that because most of these games start as one map, original size games, and then they blow up. And in this case, so talked to Vance Van Boris a little over a year ago about Drive on Damascus, and we redid Drive on Damascus and Bloody Karen. And probably the biggest departure about this title, just to let you know, if you look at Drive on Damascus, which was an old Wargamer issue release, it had a dot-to-dot system on the map. Does anybody have Drive on Damascus or know what I'm talking about as far as the map from Drive on Damascus? It was sort of very unique. It's a very unique map if you have an old issue of the Wargamer. So we asked folks, do you want us to embrace this dot-to-dot system with the map, or should we convert it to a hex-based map? And everybody pretty much said to a T, yeah, please make it hex-based map. So that's what we basically did. So on the back of the box, which I'm going to show you now, I'm going to switch gears here, and I'm going to actually pull in a file for you to look at. I want to show you the back of the box to Forgotten Legions because I do have sort of a map sample here. So this is a map to Drive on Damascus. You can probably see the little the footnote that this is a Drive on Damascus. There's 2 games, so there's actually a second full map set in the game. So Drive on Damascus, you probably can't read it on screen. We give you the actual measurements on the back of the box because the maps will overlap. So it's not 2 full-size maps at full 22 by 34. It is overlapping maps. So Drive on Damascus is the bigger of the 2 games. It's 43.5 inches by 34 inch. So it's overlapping quite a bit, the 2 maps. So it's 43.5 by 34. Bloody Karen is probably a better example of a map that really overlaps. So there's actually a 4th map that's smaller. So the size of that game is 32.5 inches by 34. So instead of a 22 by 34, it's an additional 10 inches. So, but what we've done is you'll notice there's a hex grid. I've got a hex grid here that I've got for Drive on Damascus. I didn't have a hex grid before. And that's really what's important. So what Vance von Boris decided to do, typically when we do a designer signature edition, let's say for Red Star White Eagle, we asked the designer, what do you want to do to the game? And David Williams of GDW, who did the design for Red Star White Eagle, said, no, please don't. I don't want to change the game. I don't have anything new to add to it. And actually the gaming public, the reviews of the game were like, no, don't change this game. We love the original game. Just enhance it. So this was different in this case. So Vance, when we talked to Vance, Vance was like, oh, I definitely want a second shot at these games. So not just Drive on Damascus and redoing the map, and actually the system's different. So what happens now is both Drive on Damascus and Bloody Karen, they share the same common set of rules. So there's a standard rules booklet that's common to both games, to Bloody Karen and Drive on Damascus both. And then we've got a separate booklet, which is the special rules for both games with the designer notes. So this has quite a few changes. This will not be something that looks like a carbon copy of the original games. This is Vance saying, you're going to support me as the designer to give me another shot at this. I know I can do this better. Let me do that. And we supported that designer approach that Vance wanted to take. So again, that's a little bit about Forgotten Legions. I want to thank Bruce Urian, who did the cover, who did the box art for the game. So we've seen the back of the box. Here's the front of the box. Again, it's 2 games in 1 package. Designer signature edition logo again. So bigger components, redone rules, redone everything. So that's a little bit about that title that's coming up. So that's going to be coming in June. That's going to be coming pretty soon. So next, let's talk about Vietnam. So Vietnam is a game that, let me find the right link here. So actually, that's something that Adam Starkweather is working on. And here we go. I found it. So let's talk a little bit about Vietnam. So if you haven't noticed already, at least on Facebook, so you're probably already aware of this. So Adam Starkweather put out a call for playtesters because the Vassal playtest kit is becoming available. So if you're interested in a playtest of Vietnam, please let Adam Starkweather know. This is the operational series game. Operational scale, I'm sorry, it's the operational scale system from Adam Starkweather, and he is looking for playtesters, and there's time to get added. So please reach out. Please reach out to Adam if you can do that, please. Next, I want to give an update on some playtesting we're doing for Battle of the Bulge. So if you're not familiar with this, I'm showing you a post from one of our playtesters, Steve Kalinowski. So Steve was gracious enough, as well as a bunch of others, to sign up and we needed to do a tabletop playtest. So this is almost going to be like Euro-style quality components, similar to Hearts and Minds. It's going to be a mounted map, very large counters. But this one will also have like Euro-style tokens for activation cubes. So there'll be activation cubes in the game and some wooden discs. We're looking to get some wooden discs for German territory control markers. So we're really looking to up the scale. And this is sort of a bridge between a standard war game and a Euro game in terms of the components. It's a 2-player game, by the way. So this will be purely a 2-player game, this Battle of the Bulge. If you're not familiar with how it looks here on this image from a tabletop shot, this is actually based on the old electronic version that was done also by John Butterfield for Shenandoah Studios and Eric Lee Smith. So this is John Butterfield updating the design and doing a new design as a tabletop 2-player edition of the game. So we've got playtesting, as you can see here, already taking place. I actually had the issue of, okay, how do I get a map? How do I get a full-size map printed? I don't have a big printer at home. So I discovered through my wife's work, working at a school superintendent office, she had to do some big signs. It turns out Sam's Club can do poster size printouts like this. So this is the Battle of the Bulge map that's printing out as poster size. And it was $11 to get it done. So I don't know how that compares to other printers and FedEx Kinkos out there, but here's where I'm getting my map printed out for Bulge for playtesting as well. So we've got quite a bit of playtesting going on for Bulge. Just wanted to share that with you, and things that seem to be progressing really well. So looking at our upcoming releases in May, on May 15th, we have John Paniski's Blood on the Ohio. So that is the Northern Indian War. So that's up and coming. And again, I'm trying to secure an interview with John, and this interview should air before the release of the game, is what I want to say. So I'm going to talk to John next week. I'm going to be traveling next week, actually. I'm going to be out of town for a few days next week, traveling to Nashville, but I get back late next week. And I'll connect with John Paniski, and we'll look to do a designer interview for Blood on the Ohio. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And again, probably the big news here is Mont-Lamar. So this is, again, similar to similar to the 3 games, the Marianas series. We talked about Tinian. Tinian was added to the pre-order list. We now see that we have Mont-Lamar coming on May 25th. So this is a big game. So looking at the components for the game, I'm going to switch to detail view here. Again, so feast your eyes on this. I love it. I love components that read like this. 5 maps, 6 counter sheets. Okay, this is serious stuff. So now we're getting serious. If you have a single table at home, you're going to buy 4 or 5 more single tables at your home, and you're going to get them together. So no, in all seriousness, there's a lot of scenarios in this game. As you can see, there's some 1-map scenarios. There's some 2 and 3-map scenarios. So obviously, Adam is being do his level best to provide smaller scenarios for those that just can't put the big campaign together. And plus, you want to have them to really get acclimated to the game system anyway. So it just makes sense for that. And then, of course, we got Tinian, which is just 1 map with 5/8-inch counter. So that's perfect for getting into the system as well. But the difference is this is going to be available on May 25th, and Tinian isn't. So you want to get this. So just as a clue on what you might want to consider doing, because the question was asked earlier, what's this system like compared to some other games that other publishers have done? If you go to the rules errata and download section, I added a rules PDF for Mont-Lamar. So you can go here, and you'll notice here, and there is a download button. So there is a download upper left-hand corner. You'll see a little arrow where I'm pointing now with the cursor. So you can download the PDF and look at it in your own application, your Acrobat Reader. But here, of course, I can just do some on-screen viewing. It's very easy to navigate through here. So you've got the rules here. So this will give you a great idea of the company scale system right here, just to give you an idea of what's going on. And hat tip to Eric Lee Smith. Adam acknowledges that this is based a lot on the Panzer Command system that was done by Victory Games by Eric Lee Smith. So again, great looking game, but those rules are available. Just go to the rules and download section, and you'll be able to check that out. So one other thing I wanted to mention, if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet, I want to go back to our website. Is now and then we have some posts that happen that I just like to draw people's attention to. So I do try to also update information again on our homepage at Compass. And I just want to say a hat tip to Marco Arnaudo. So everybody I think knows Marco here, right? And he's on Facebook, he's on Twitter. He's sort of a go-to person for video reviews. Does a lot of great job with Euro games as well. Enrico's another person that does a lot of videos. I know Kate's Corner oh gosh, I'm leaving all these people out. So now everybody's going to be mad at me because on Consum World News, I've got videos all the time being posted. I think I've got 2 or 3 videos posting today on Consum World News Desk from other great blogs and staff people. So, but again, we do have Command and Colors American Revolution. That's the Tricorn game release. There is also the expansion kit that's available for pre-order right now, which is also mentioned on this page. So here's the Tinian Forgotten Battle pre-order, which is our most recent announcement. We ship Bitter Woods, etc. So again, here's the expansion for Tricorn. So again, we've got the video review that just came out that you might want to check out from Marco, but also we do have here the expansion kit that's available as well. So we have we do have a question that came in from our first episode last week from Patrick Crowley. So I didn't have the answer for Patrick at the time. He was asking about Blue Water Navy and what the shipping status is for this game. So we don't have any cover art yet. Obviously, the artwork's not ready yet. And he was asking, what's the status on Blue Water Navy? And I did touch upon that we have an active game developer who's been on it for several months. So we're making progress. We're actually making good progress. So we're going to have a release date for Blue Water Navy for Q3 of this year. So July, August, September, sometime during that period this year, we'll have the release of Blue Water Navy. So that will be appearing on our ticker, on our release pipeline ticker. So at this point, I'm just going to defer to anybody who has questions online. So good to see you, Alan. Good to have you on board. I see Matt's got a question. Is there a cost advantage on shipping to prepaying? That's a good question. I'd have to check on that. I know one thing that can happen is you can put in special requests to try to combine shipping, to combine shipments as far as how timing goes. So Matt, I'll get back to you on that question. So your question is there an advantage for me on shipping? Obviously, I do know that we have the 20. Well, I know there's 2 benefits, Matt. So there's going to be the discount we're going to do because that helps Compass Games a lot. So the pre-order money helps Compass a lot because the margins on the pre-orders is huge compared to through a distributor. So it helps fill the tank for Compass Games much bigger, much faster. There's also where there's an option under pre-order that if you do a pre-order and you decide to pay for your pre-order, when you do the pre-order, you then qualify instantly for $10 off any in-print game. So that's not related to shipping directly, but if you do see something you want to pre-order and you decide to pay for the pre-order up front, you'll see that there's a special discount you earn that just look for what games are in stock already, and you'll get $10 off of that game for paying for your pre-order. Shipping, I think, sort of the same, but now and then I think I've seen customers ask about, I want to make sure maybe I can do like a combined shipment of games. So that might be an option. I'm afraid I'm not the back office expert on that. I'm not the right person to answer that question, so I'm going to have to find out. So Alan has a query for me. So Alan Rothberg's asking, for Battle of the Bulge, the app has been out for ages. I must have a zillion plays by now. Does the board version differ significantly, and was it possible to leverage the feedback from the app version to the board version? So that's it's a really valid question. I know the app was played a ton. So for that, I'm going to pull John Butterfield in for an interview, Alan, because that's the best way to address that. And we're just too far away from Bulge being released. We haven't thrown a lot of details, or we haven't thrown that designer interview out yet already because there's so much lead time still. I think the Bulge game will be released Q1 of next year, actually. But John had to make some decisions up front for sure. So in terms of how activations work in the game, as far as being an electronic version compared to this board game version, he made changes as far as how activations work in the game. There's also obvious change in the game that it's purely a 2-player game. It's been designed that way by John Butterfield, and that's a big change because obviously the electronic app version, there was probably a ton of solitaire playing that was done. I bet you more than 50% of playing the Bulge app was probably solitaire, would be my guess. And that's something that maybe between John Butterfield and Eric Lee Smith, maybe Eric even has some stats on that. I don't know if they track play stats in the app. But let me have John Butterfield. I'll definitely have designers on, so you don't have to get bored just listening to me during these talks. But we're going to do a full deep dive into Bulge, because there's going to be a lot of interesting questions about what did you have to change about the app to make it work in a board game format, and what designer decisions did you have to make. And John Butterfield's really good at fielding those types of questions, so I wouldn't even want to attempt to address those. I would rather have John do that. So we'll definitely do that. Are there any further Order of Arms games coming out? You know what, Mark? I'm going to have to find out about that. I'm not familiar because I'm not working on those projects right now. So if somebody knows and wants to type the answer now, you'll get brownie points, because I'm not working on that series right now myself. So I'm not overly familiar with Order of Arms, but I will be 5 minutes after this broadcast is over, since it's live. So Mark, that will be a carryover question to our next Facebook Live session we do. So I will find out for you about that. And Mira DeWitt, I wonder where Mira, where are you based out of? I'm curious where you reside. Your last name's interesting. Mira DeWitt's asking, I'm a new war gamer. Welcome, Mira. And I hope you join Console World Forum. Join us there. I'm a new war gamer, and I'm looking forward to getting out and checking some World War II games. So that's why I was also asking where you live, Mira, because we have Compass Games Expos coming up end of June, in less than 2 months, in Arizona. And then, of course, there's other events, like there's WBC, World Board Gaming Championships. There's Origins. There's Compass Games Expo, our own expo for the first year ever, in November, East Coast. So I think it's a great way, Mira, to learn about games, is if you show up at these conventions. It will get you supercharged, and you'll hit the pavement running, because you'll talk to so many people that are so deep into the hobby. But otherwise, I say make sure, post your questions to us here at Compass Games. We'll be happy to help you out and answer your questions. Let's see. So Mira has Memorial Day today. So I'm afraid I'm not sure exactly. I should know your location. You're going to be at Essen. You're going to be at Essen. So I think at the Spiel Essen, we're going to be there with Ulrich. You probably know Ulrich Blenneman. So Ulrich's joined Compass Games, and he's going to be managing our Euro game line, and he'll be at Essen, and he'll be working on our Euro game line as well. So unfortunately, I'm not finding a way to view all the questions in this feed. It's not letting me see all these questions that are streaming through, and I don't know why. So I've missed a recent question that somebody asked here. So if you want to ask a question again that I've missed, I apologize, but I'm not finding a way to view all questions at once, unfortunately. So let me see if I can pull up a different window, and maybe I'll get it this way. So give me one. Oh, I think I just got it. So hello from Holland. Holland, wonderful. Thank you, Mira, for letting me know where you're based at. Wonderful, Holland. Okay. Russia besieged, Chris. Question from Chris is there any information on Russia besieged? Yes, the Russians won. Germany lost. It's over. No more questions, right? Of course, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. It's a bad joke. So that's my segue. So yes, Russia besieged. I can give you some big information about that, because if you go over to our homepage at Compass Games, guess what? Look at our upcoming titles and look at July 2018. Look at July 2018, and Russia Besieged will be in your hands if you're interested in ordering it. It's coming. So it's coming very soon. If you have very specific questions about it, let me know what your questions are. I don't know if that's one we'll do a designer interview or not for yet. I'll have to look into that. But it's a deluxe edition of that previous publication, published game that was done by L2 Design. So please let me know. Great to see Gregory Blanchett on here as well. So let me make sure I haven't missed. We have somebody from Australia. Saman is from. So Saman, have you picked up World in Flames Collector Edition yet? Do you know that's out now? So if you go to Console World News and you're in Australia, you probably know Harry Rowland personally. You got to pick up World in Flames Collector's Edition because you can use it for weightlifting. It actually helps your cardio as well because it's the biggest thing I've probably seen in a while. And it's super sexy if you're into World War II. So you might want to check that out. So thank you, Simon, for joining us today. So let me make sure I haven't missed any questions. I want to thank everybody for staying on. Thank you, Michael, for joining from Texas. I'm here in Plano, Texas myself. Walter's here from Gainesville, another Texan giving me some support. So thanks. We got Texas in the house. Feel very good about that. So I think I've got all the questions answered. I am looking here. Let's see. Here's Walter McGovern asks, this may have been asked already, but new information pertaining to Stellar Horizons and Lebensraum. So Stellar Horizons is going to be released at next year at Gen Con. Next year is what I've seen for a teaser in our video teaser. I think we have a video teaser on our home page about Stellar Conquest. It's right. Stellar Horizons, rather. I apologize, Stellar Horizons. So it's going to be arriving Gen Con 2019 as an FYI. So we've got a video teaser about that for you. And then the other question was, yes, you asked about Lebensraum. So that's another one I got good news on because this wasn't here last week. So this is new information. So Lebensraum is coming. It's now on our schedule within our 90-day window. It's going to be released in July. So very good news about Lebensraum. It is coming soon. So yes, so you can see very good news there. So I'm going to go to the top here. If there's no more questions, I'm probably going to cut it short. The event list for Compass Games Expo is going to be ready next week. So thanks, John, for asking that. Oh, Compass Games Expo. So I've got two expos. Yeah, for Console World Expo in Tempe, that's going to be released next week. And then I do have events obviously already listed for Compass Games Expo. You can actually see what the event listing is going to be for that. So I'll just go there now. What you're probably talking about is the sign-up sheet for Compass Games Expo, which is November. So here's the special events for Compass Games Expo in November. This is our starting list of what we're going to offer. But what I haven't done yet is the attendees that have selected games. They've given a primary choice, a secondary, and third choice. I'm going to be getting that out within the next 2 weeks for sure. So you can start seeing, again, it's not till November, but you're going to start seeing what people are signing up for. But for now, we've got the attendee list and what the special events are. So that's going to be coming within 2 weeks. All righty, I think that's all the questions for today. So I want to thank you for joining again. Just a reminder that, again, on our home page, I'll be updating our schedule. So if you're wondering, because things do change, so if you're wondering about specific dates, you'll see on the left side our releases that are coming up in the next 90 days that we can share with you, that we know about for sure. I can share with you also the recently added the pre-order list, so that way you don't miss out on anything we just added new to pre-order. And then the right column's pretty nice because you actually see from top down our most recent releases in chronological order. So we've got a list of about 12, our most recent 12 to 14 games that we have there. So I want to thank you again for all your questions. We'll be on the Console World Forum. We'll be on Board Game Geek, obviously, as well. I'm here every day on Facebook to answer your questions. Also, I want to say that I'm going to be out traveling next week. So through Thursday of next week, I will be out traveling. So I most likely will be online in the evenings only. So as far as updates, you'll probably see those happening in the evening through Thursday of next week. So with that, I want to thank you for all your support. First of all, for being here. You asked a lot of great questions, so you kept me on my toes. I've got one question I couldn't answer about a game series that I'm going to have to go research now, and I'll provide the answer in the next episode. So thanks for asking a lot of great questions. And I'll be looking to do our next broadcast probably next Friday, since I'll be traveling. And then either that episode or the one following, we'll do our first designer interview. And I'm hoping to get John Paniski for that, since we've got Blood on the Ohio is going to be our next release on May 15th. So I want to thank everybody for joining. You've been awesome. Keep posting, asking questions. I love it when you guys communicate with us, and you'll see we're gonna communicate back to you to let you know what's happening with us. So have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.